It is becoming more and more difficult for Americans to cast their ballots, to participate in the democratic process, and to vote. And nothing made that clearer than what people were experiencing last night. In fact, in North Dakota, people had a hard time voting because the lines were incredibly long and there were a number of voting places that were shut down, which made it difficult for people to even find a place to go cast their ballots. So apparently Grand Forks, North Dakota had one polling place for a town of 57,000 people. Imagine that, 57,000 people and there's one place to vote, but it gets worse than that. Christopher Ingram, who is a data reporter for the Washington Post, wrote via Twitter, long lines being reported at some Democratic primary locations in North Dakota. There are only 14 locations for the entire state. Only one location in Fargo, a city of 120,000 people.
It's absurd. By the way, Chris Ingram's actually a great reporter at the Washington Post. He actually does his job right and brings you amazing information I didn't know. So about politics. So including this, I'm tired of the lines. People like romanticize the lines. Oh my God, people care so much about democracy, there's lines. No, that just means you don't have enough polling stations and enough machines or whatever that particular state uses to count the votes or to register the votes. You know how much more it costs to have more machines? Not that much. I mean, compared to what the other things that we spend money on at the state level, it's next to nothing. So why do we have lines at all? We should have so many voting areas and voting machines that we never have lines. And people should complain, hey, don't we have too many of these? And they're all so empty all the time because they're so easy to get through. Because we want people to vote.
Right.
It's called a democracy.
We should make it incredibly easy for people to vote in every way, right? So we should consider whether caucuses make sense because obviously it could only be accomplished by certain demographics. If you're young, if you're a single mom, if you have a full-time job and if you have a wage job and you're not allowed to leave to go vote or to take part in caucuses, you just can't do it, right? So I think it's undemocratic in that way. I think we should consider the day in which people can vote. We should consider laws that protect people's wages if they decide to take an hour off to go vote. All of these things, like we keep talking about like, oh, we're the greatest democracy in the world. We're the greatest. No, we're not. No, we're not. We did a story about Texas shutting down polling places in minority communities. Gee, I wonder why they did that. No,
it's absurd.
We purposely, I believe, make it difficult for certain demographics to vote and certain types of people to vote, right? We have Republicans who are pretty transparent in their bad faith attempts at carrying out democracy. I mean, they make it difficult through voter ID laws, making it impossible for students to vote if they're studying out of state, all of that stuff. But there's more. There's more disastrous stuff going on throughout the country.
So you mentioned Texas, that was on March 3rd. California was on March 3rd. First of all, California still hasn't stopped counting. There's still 25% that has not reported in California.
Greatest democracy in the world.
That was March 3rd. That was 8 days ago, okay? But I haven't kept track of if they've, my guess is they have not awarded all the delegates to Bernie Sanders, so it makes it look like Bernie Sanders is losing by a bigger margin because California just won't count 25% of the votes. It's amazing, ridiculous, preposterous. In California, again, long lines, yes, in minority areas in California 25, there were longer lines, there's less places to vote, and then every once in a while, they'll say, oh, you know what, even if you got in the line by 8 o'clock, we won't let you vote. Then you have to send people over there to harangue them, to tell them it's illegal not to let them vote. For God's sake, let's make this easier. And the reason Republicans don't want to do it is obvious, but notice that the establishment Democrats don't fight that hard on that issue, right? Because if you're wondering why, within primaries, a lot of times, if you make it easier to vote on a college campus, I was on a college campus for the California primary, and people were walking away because the line was too long. I tried to convince them that there's another place down the street. They're like, no, we already tried 3 places. We're sick of it and we got to go to work, okay? So it depends, if there's places where there's older voters, etc. Establishment Democrats might want more polling areas in those, but it shouldn't be based on who's in power,
right,
which party, etc. We should have votes that are easy everywhere. And again, more evidence this time around, not the case.
But if you thought that the information we just shared with you was egregious, get a load of what happened in Kansas City, Missouri. So the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri, went to his polling station. He's voted consistently. He always votes. Shows up to cast his ballot and get a load of the experience that he had.
Hey, I'm here at a polling place right now. Get out to vote, exercise your right to vote. We have a presidential primary today in Missouri. No matter who you vote for, no matter which side, it's important that we have our voices heard in every community. I'm here at my poll.
Super excited, he can't wait to vote. He's the mayor, okay? And then after his experience, he tweeted the following: I made a video this morning about the importance of voting and then got turned away because I wasn't in the system, even though I voted there for 11 years, including for myself 4 times. Go figure, but that's okay. We'll be back later today. But it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not even remotely okay. If you've been consistently voting, why are you not on the voter rolls? What's the issue? What's going on?
Yeah, he did later clarify, saying that was his Midwestern way of being snarky and that it definitely was not okay.
No, we don't live in a democracy. We just don't live in a democracy. Can we just acknowledge that and stop pretending?
Yeah, no, it gets frustrating, and these should be super easy to pass. But again, unfortunately, I wish it wasn't the case, but we sound like a broken record because there's 2 problems that constantly come up every single time. One is money in politics, but in this case, it's not that one, it's the second one, the media. Because
they don't care about any of this.
Yeah, because Republicans want less people to vote. That's obvious. That's why they take away voting areas from poor areas, African American areas. They make it so difficult. The purges of the voter rolls, etc. Now, the way that they would get punished for that is that the media talked about it a lot and explained to people it is the Republican Party that does not like voting, that they want less people to vote. That's a fact. That's a fact based on the statistics of how many voter purges they've done and how many voting places they've closed down. But the media won't say that. They basically help the Republicans lie and go, wow, we can't tell. We just can't tell. Progressives are very clear. We want as many voting places as possible, as many voting machines on a Saturday. We've said it 1,000 times. But they'll take that progressive position, which is the most pro-voting position, and they'll take the most anti-voting position, which is the right-wing Republican position, and go, I can't tell. What am I, a journalist? I can't tell. So I'm not gonna tell people who's at fault. I'm just gonna say, I guess we have a problem. And I wish there was a journalist around to figure out whose fault it was.
It's beyond frustrating, but this is what we're dealing with. So for all those reporters out there who treat the experience of all the candidates as if they're on equal footing and this system is fair, just take a good hard look at how people are being suppressed when it comes to their vote, how difficult it is to go out there and exercise, your rights in this democratic process, and how this whole facade of a democracy really needs to be challenged, because this is not the experience that people are having when they go out to cast their ballots.
You know what? Last thing, because one side is actually malicious. So, for example, in the primaries, the last 2 times around at the presidential level, the progressive candidate Bernie Sanders has not been able to get a higher share of the African American vote. But if you told progressives across the country, would you want to take away voting areas from African American parts of town so that the progressive has a better chance of winning? I think 0 progressives would say yes. We would all say no, we'd scream no, we'd tackle you to make sure that didn't happen. Because we actually care that everyone votes. We don't want to discriminate. We don't want just our voters voting, right? And we believe we have every ability to win over African American voters, even if we haven't yet. And by the way, younger African American voters are progressive, older African American voters aren't. But that doesn't mean you should take their vote away, and we would never, ever countenance that. Republicans, on the other hand, go, well, of course take it away. Of course, they're not gonna vote for us, so try to limit their votes as much as humanly possible. So there's a giant difference. It isn't like, oh, well, I mean, obviously the Republicans are doing the right thing by them. Politically, it's not racist. They just politically want to limit their votes. No, they're malicious. We, on the other hand, say, I don't care who's voting against us. Everyone should vote.
Yeah.
See, that's actually being an honest and decent person. And it's stupid games anyway. Do you know for sure how African Americans are going to vote in any state, Latinos, etc.? The only people who are sure is Republicans, because they hate those people. They speak out against them all the time. They try to take away their rights. So that's why they don't want them to vote. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.